and welcome back to all my dear students and friends. I am Rabinshu Sharma, Assistant Professor in Department of Journalism and Mass Communication of Babu Banarsidass University, Lucknow. So students, in my last video, I have discussed with you about the ham radio, that is amateur radio. I have discussed with you about the advantages and disadvantages of ham radio. I have discussed with you about the licenses. I have discussed with you about the trainings. I have discussed with you about the like the national and international organizations that are working for this. I've discussed with you about the mode of communication. To give you more and detailed information and about the practicality of this, I have shown you the audio video clip of Mr. Sanjay Gautam, who is the president of SORA, that is Society of Radio Amateur, and I tried to tell you how this amateur radio is useful during the war and during the crucial times of like emergencies. So this is very much useful, and I hope you must have got a lot of new things with my video. So today in this video I will be talking to you about the podcasting. Yeah, today is very much important topic, that is podcasting. In these time right now, it's 2020 and podcasting is booming like anything. Everyone is, they are trying shifting towards the podcasting. Yeah, many RJs, they are shifting themselves from broadcasting to the podcasting. The trend is like podcasting is everything nowadays. You can see everyone is moving, the advertisements, the companies, the apps are coming to the market, and people are getting the opportunity to explore themselves. So let's see what is podcasting exactly is, and how you can use the podcasting. So we will be discussing these few topics, insights about the podcasting. So let's start with this presentation. Podcasting. Today we will be discussing these things about the podcasting. We will discuss about the history of the podcasting. This term is not very much old. It is old, but nowadays it's trending. And why it is trending, like technology has changed, or technology or the internet, why it is trending these days. And how about broadcasting? Like broadcasting is also a new term that is related with the video and the casting. So broadcasting is also a term that is in the domain of the podcasting, you can say. So we'll discuss about the broadcasting also, and we'll also discuss about the how podcasting exactly works. We listen about the podcasting. Yeah, some people try to think you'll start podcasting. So how it works, what is the process, timing. We'll discuss about the benefits of podcasting. We will also discuss about the how to podcast. What are the things that you need to have to apply these theories into the practicality. We will discuss with the issues and the problems with the podcasting. Yeah, everything has the pros and the cons, so this will have some advantages, and this podcasting will be having some disadvantages, the cons of these having using this podcasting. We will also discuss about the Audacity. It's a software, famous software used for the audio editing. We'll also discuss about the future of this technology, podcasting. What is the future of podcasting? Will it kill the radio or not? We'll discuss a lot of these things about the podcasting in this presentation. So let's start with the history of podcasting. This podcasting, this was proposed by the Tristan Lewis in the year October 2000. See, it's October 2000, like 20 years back. This term was proposed by Tristan Lewis on the October 2000. The creators were Dave Winner and Adam Curry. This Dave Winner and Adam Curry, you can see bottoms left and right. They're the two photographs. The bottom left side, the photograph is of Mr. Adam Curry, and the person who is on the right side, you can see is Mr. Dave Winner. He's Adam Curry. So according to Wikipedia, the term podcasting was used in the February 2004. See, we exactly don't know when this term came here in the studies, the podcasting. But as for the Wikipedia, they say this was first used in the February 2004. I tried to search in some books also, but I was not able to get the exact month and the date, but I got in the Wikipedia this February 2004. So, what is podcasting? We are using this word podcasting. So, what is exactly is the podcasting? See, the podcasting is the method. It's just a simple method. It's a method of distributing multimedia files, such as audio, such as video programs over the internet. In this podcasting, videos are not much used. Basically they deal with the audio, but if you talk about the overall the podcasting, it's a method of distributing multimedia files. Basically mostly audio files are used more over the internet, either the RSS feed or the atom syndication formats for the playback on mobile devices and personal computers, or in the tablets, or on the laptops, on the various things. Podcasting name comes from a combination of the words iPod. Actually, what happened? Apple launched the iPod of few years back. So this iPod, it's like a personal digital audio player. It's a digital audio player made by Apple. So they say iPod. Before iPods, you can see the pods and the Walkman. These things were used to get the music anywhere portability. With the help of the portability, you can access anywhere. But this Apple has given a personal digital has a digital audio player. This iPod, and the broadcasting that everyone knows, the transmission of the signals of the radio. We are accessing this broadcasting, like the transmission of the signals, data, and accessing this broadcasting. So see this iPod and the broadcasting, the word pod is taken from that iPod, because I is, like you can say, it's kind of the copyright of the Apple, like iPhone, iWatch, iTV, blah blah blah, iPad. So I is kind of copyright of the Apple. So we remove the I and take the pod and the broadcasting, the casting. So the combination of these two words, like the pod and the cast broadcasting, it makes a word podcasting. So this is the small story of the podcasting, the definition of the podcasting. And this we are distributing the audio files over the internet, and the other person is accessing the same thing on the personal devices. Coming to the next slide, right? This is a chart. You can see this is a small chart of what is podcasting. I try to tell you how you can understand things like so. Initially, I'll start with the left side. Left side, you can see a radio show is recorded on a computer from this mic and this headphone. So a radio show is recorded to a computer. This, you're not sitting in on some radio station where is a big audio console, the faders, the headphones, output speakers, soundproof room. You can record your podcast anywhere, anytime. So a radio show, like you can say podcast is having a radio show. So a radio show is recorded to a computer. Computer is having a software to record, and then input mic or the inbuilt mic of your laptop, anything, or your mobile. Then the sound wave, this MP3 generally saves in the MP3 format or the wave format. This MP3 sound file is sent to a website. After you record a show and then you save in MP3 format, then you send that file to the internet. It's www. You're sending to some host of the podcasting. What is the podcasting host? We will discuss later. So then you will, like, customer subscribe to the RSS feed using iTunes or Audio or other softwares, whatever. People subscribe to RSS feed. Some people subscribe to like Anchor. People subscribe to Spotify. These are the trending, Spotify and Anchor. These are the trending platforms of the podcasting these days. So when people subscribe to these places, then they listen at computers. They listen at your computers like you are there. Then you can see the diagram of the FM in-house broadcast to your studio. So it's like sending signals. Then they transfer show to MP3 player, iPod, like the thing. They transfer this to iPod. Then this they can access this while they listen while you fly. They can also listen to you while you exercise. Like, it means you just have to once deliver your content, and just you have to forget about your content, and people can access your content anywhere, anytime, as per their free time, not as per your free time. It's unlike traditional radio broadcasting, or it's different. It's not same like the radio live streaming that is happening traditionally. You are, if in that case, what happens if a person has lost the time, if he forgot about the particular show time, then he won't be able to get that program back. He cannot pause, he cannot rewind. But here in podcasting, he can pause the program, he can rewind, he can listen to that program multiple times. Like, you are free to start delivering your video content, and you are doing XYZ, you are doing exercise, you are flying, like listen while you commute, you do whatever you are doing things, but audience can access your content to anywhere, anytime. So then here are few types of podcasting. When generally it's audio only podcast. This audio only podcast is plays on any MP3 player. So this audio podcast, this can be accessed through any MP3 player. Nowadays, if you have cell phones, cell phone, you can download the apps. So you don't need to have MP3 player. You have an inbuilt MP3 player and app in your cell phones. So your cell phone can work as a podcast. So audio only plays on any MP3 player, MP3 file, and a RSS XML file. It's RSS feed. You can send your feed to RSS, and one can subscribe to RSS and then can get the content. For example, Foundry library. You can access this link that I've mentioned. Library.rise.edu services slash services slash podcast, and ESL is there's one more, that is www.eslpod.com slash website slash. So you can access these two links to get more information. Enhanced podcast, if you talk about the enhanced podcast, audio plus like audio and the images both are there, like slideshow, like plays, or like if you talk about the internet radio that I have discussed in my last video, I told you about the people can see the text graphics. So this thing is somewhere similar to the like that kind of thing. It's not exactly like the internet radio, but this image integration, graphic integration is somewhat same. So images is like a slideshow plays on the computer and later version of the iPod. MP4 files and RSS XML files, it's also again a combination. For example, Naked Scientist podcast, you can see this link. It's www.thenakedscientist.com/html/podcast slash. You can check this link and you'll get things like you know more about the what is enhanced podcast. You're listening to things and you can see the image or the text of that particular audio track. So it's like if you talk about the video podcast, this contains video and the audio both plays on your computer and on an iPod with video. MP4, M4V or MP4 files. These are two files, or you can say RSS XML files. These are three formats which are accessible in context to the video podcast. For example, Nebraska. Real Nebraska. You can access this link to get more information about the real Nebraska. Combined podcast, again, it's a very enhanced podcast in the video domain. Media files are mixed up with MP3 and MP4 files. Rise IT is the example. You can see, check out this link, itpodcast.rise.edu. So how about broadcasting? See, broadcasting is broadcasting is same as podcasting, but users subscribe to video. As you know, the term is V. V is for video. So the initial letter of video is V, and V is used in the broadcasting. So broadcasting is same as podcasting, but users have to subscribe for the video content. If you want to subscribe to the video content, then you will list suggestion list. You will get only the audio files, MP3 files. New iPod plays videos, TV shows also nowadays. The updated new iPods that's available in the market, you can purchase it and you can access to the TV shows, web series, and various other content on the iPod. So now let's discuss about exactly how podcast works, like how exactly a podcast works like. So to record a podcast, there's a few steps. I'll teach you this step by step how to record a podcast. In the first step, plug in a USB handset with the microphone and your. Although it's a very simple, it's easy step. So I'll tell you like step by step so that you won't skip any all things. So just yeah, it's a very simple. You just have to plug a USB headset with microphone on your into your computer. Then step two, you have to install an MP3 recorder for Windows. If you're using Mac, then the MP3 player will be for the Mac. Or if you have your operating system Linux, then go for the Linux portable, like Linux compatible MP3 recorder. Then after installing that MP3 recorder, you have to create an audio file by making a recording. So this is again a very important, this is the main task, to create a audio file. This is the production work. When you talk about the production stages, pre-production, production and post-production, so this is the second stage, that is production. You are actually producing, and this is the main, like the heart of the podcasting. If your content is not good, and if you're podcasting this that in a very good quality, then it will be of no use. Your content should be new, your content should be good. We'll discuss later about the content of the podcasting and genres of the podcast content and the various other things. So you have to, the third step, that is you have to create the audio file by making a recording, that you have plugged in the mic, you have to plug in the headphones, you have installed the MP3 recorder. So after doing all these things, what the work was left is, that is you have to record. So create an audio file by making a recording. You can talk, like you can talk about your any life, you can talk about your experiences, you can sing, you can record, you can take an interview of X-rated celebrity, you can do anything you can, and saving it and as an MP3 player of MP3 file. So the format that will be by default saved as MP3 file, because you have to upload the file on podcast domain, so you need to have that in the MP3 format. So save that in MP3 format. And then finally, the fourth step is that you have to upload that MP3 file to one of the podcasting sites. So after doing your production or post production, you have to upload. If you think that there's some requirement of the editing, then you can discuss. You can use the software like Audacity, Cool Edit Pro, and these Sony Vegas, or the other softwares that are used in industry. So you can use any software if you feel like that some editing is required, any sound effects is required, or any background score is needed to give more feeling as per your program. So if you need editing, then it's okay. If you don't need editing, then it's not necessary to give the editing touch. You can directly upload that MP3 file to any of the podcasting sites. Podcasting sites like Anchor and the Spotify. We'll discuss later about these. What are the platforms where you can upload your MP3 files, your podcast. You can cast your podcast. So we'll discuss later. So these are the four steps. The first, you have to plug the USB headset with your microphone. Then you have to install MP3 player recorder. Then you have to create your audio file. Then you have to simply upload. These are the four steps that you need to take if you want to really upload, you want to work on the podcast. Okay, so this was a story of how to upload on the podcast. Now, if you are a listener, if you are a person who is accessing the content, so to listen the podcast, what are the steps that you need to do? These are the 3 steps that you need to follow if you are a listener, or if you are the consumer of that podcast. You need to have this. Firstly, you have to go to a podcasting site and download a free software. Okay, then click on the hyperlink for each podcast you want. Okay, then you can listen right away on your computer, both Windows and Mac supporting podcasting, or download a podcast to your MP3 player. These nowadays the VLCs and various MP3 players having option of the podcast. If you update your VLC or the Windows media player, you'll get the option of the podcasting. You can access with that also. Then you have to. Then you can also subscribe to one or more RSS feed That's also one of the option. You can subscribe to RSS feed. Your podcasting software will check the RSS feeds regularly and automatically, and pull content that matches to your playlist. If you had added some things in the wish list or in the playlist, so as per the genre, the format of the program that you are accessing, it will automatically check your mood, or it will check your taste of your program, the content that you want to get more. So as per your need and requirement, it will automatically add those, or the pull those content automatically and add to the list. So when you dock your MP3 player to your computer, it automatically updates with the latest content that is available in the market. So these are the three steps that are very easily, if you are a listener, if you are a content gainer, like accessing the content. So these are three steps just you have to do, and you can access the podcast, because both things are very much necessary. If somebody is producing a content, then has to be somebody who is accessing the content, gaining the content, and he is a good active listener in the audience. If audience is good, then the person who is creating the podcast gets the good motivational thing, positivity to produce more and more podcasts, so that will be helpful. So coming to the next one, that is the benefits of the podcasting. So we will discuss about the benefits of the podcasting. Yeah, when a podcast has some benefits. So the first benefit of podcasting is it allows listener to shift time and place, shift media consumption. It means person can watch any program anytime. They can shift their time as per their availability. They can connect to the podcast and access their content. Second one is 100% efficiency, since episodes are only downloaded by listener on an option in basis. There's no problem of the signals, or there is no error in the satellite and the other thing, because everything is on the is through the internet, and 100% efficiency is there because when people, the audience listen, they have to download the file, and once they have downloaded the file, and then they can off the internet also, and as per their option, as per the requirement, they can download the content and keep in their mobile or the desktop for the future access. So the third benefit of podcasting is easily accessible to a global audience that is not defined by a geographical boundary. Yeah, this is the important one. If you talk about the radio, if you talk about the community radio, they all have a particular limited range. But if you talk about the podcasting has nothing to do with the geographical boundary, because you are accessing that content through the internet, and that internet is international network that is accessible, that is present everywhere. So you can access the podcast irrespective of the geographical boundaries, and they can access the global audience. If you talk about the educational status of the people, the access to the podcast, access to the educated and the influential audience with a high disposable income. So you can prepare the program as per this factor, keeping in mind. Next benefit is ability to leverage electronic programming without an outside flow news media filter. Okay, so the next slide is how to podcast. Then first step to podcast. How to podcast? The first step is plan your podcast. Like prepare a concept, prepare a theme, prepare a music background scores that you have to use, prepare the format and every genre, everything of your program. Okay, then produce your podcast. Go and record. It's like a stage of the production, that is pre-production, production, and the post-production. The first step is plan your podcast. It's like doing pre-production work. Then producing your podcast. Then it means you are producing work. Then publish your podcast. It is a step of post-production. If you need, there's a requirement of editing, then you do the post-production editing, else you don't. Then the third step is publish your podcast. If you are keeping that particular piece of MP3 file to an online platform that is accessible by the audience. So publishing your podcast means making your program on air for always, for the permanently. You are putting your program on air, so that your audience can download and can access as per their requirement. And the last step is to promote. See, you have to do promotion you own, and although this app, the online this podcasting platforms, they do promotion, but the main promotion of your podcast that you have to do by your own. You can share the link of your podcast to your social media platforms. You can share the links with your friends and the family to the WhatsApp. You can share that link to the LinkedIn, and you can share on the various social media platforms about to your friends and the families, so that you get the more reach, and the frequency of the program gets increased day by day gradually. Number of views, number of listenership gets increased of your podcast. So plan your podcast, produce your podcast, publish your podcast, and promote your podcast. These are the 4 steps to produce your podcast. So coming to the next one, see, this is a small chart, so 5 steps procedure that I have discussed. It's like that. First step, you have to record and edit your podcast. It's a basic simple thing. You have to use a native record capability of a computer. Recording capability of, you could use a microphone or use a simple recording software like free app, Peak, Express, or you can also use Pro Tools. Yeah, it saves time also, and it works good also. So these 3 softwares, the apps free, you can use like free app, Peak, Express, or Pro Tools. It saves time, and later you have to save that file in the MP3 format, that's 264 kbps, and later after recording your program, put that MP3 file in an RSS enclosure. You can either hand code them, use your blog software, or use special software like Feedburner, or you can use Feed for Air also. It's also good software. There is lots of good tools and instructions on the website. You can read those instructions step by step and deeply what are the things that you keep in mind while uploading your MP3 file to the RSS and various other things you can see. The third step is that changes are published to a blog or the website. The blog or a website publishing software that supports RSS enclosures is required. This includes most current web creation software. So next fourth one step is like set up a news reader software and let it run. Newsreader software, try iPodder. It's a good one. It's free and easy to access. Or you can use iPodder X, that's cost $39, and that will automatically download selected podcast on the schedule set by the subscriber and put them directly into the folder of their favorite content management software. That's a CMS process. Then later, then synchronize the media player with the subscriber's computer. That CMS software, that is content management software like iTunes, Windows Media Player, Music Match, that came with the subscriber digital media player and can be used to play, organize, and synchronize podcast. Then later, what you have to just enjoy the podcast. The subscriber can listen everything, anytime, anywhere. So it's just a small. If you see this chart, this start and the end button, start with the green one, and the end with the red button. It's the 5 steps that you have to see. This is a flowchart kind of in a pictorial graph that you can see in the diagrams. Is a person who is speaking in the microphone, then computer is running. That computer is recording the audio. Then you can see RSS enclosure softwares that is routing through the subscriber. Then later, laptop is some person is accessing. Here is a person who is accessing the podcast. So let's discuss some issues and problems with the podcast. See, everything is having a pros and cons. So here we'll discuss some of the advantages of the podcasting and some of the disadvantages of the podcasting. So let's see some advantages of the podcasting. So here are some advantages of the podcast. See, advantages. The first advantage is that it is available anytime, anywhere for the students. Or for us also, we can also access anytime, anywhere. Second step is that it's easy to create and distribute. For example, if you are trying for the professional RJ after completing a mass communication course, you will go to the various stations and you'll apply for the job. You'll apply for the test, and then you'll get the selected through the very long process. Then you'll get the opportunity to say, that are you able to get the chance to do RJing in front of the people after cracking a lot of rounds of the interview. But here you can easily create the content if you're creating material on the podcast. So create easily, distribute your content, and download. The people who will access they'll download. No professional equipment is required in this podcast, and this is one of the good feature. We can say there's no professional things, like if you talk about the community radio, if you talk about the internet radio, everything you need to have a setup, hardware, software. This also needs like hardware and software, but that hardware and software can be a cell phone, or can be a simple mic, a mobile mic, or anything. So every one of us is having a smartphone these days, and everyone can access the internet, and everyone is having the computer or the laptop. So nowadays you can set up anything, anywhere, anytime. So it's like so. And professional equipment is not required in this podcasting. The third one is new podcasts are auto downloaded. If you have put some content on the podcast and your listeners are accessing the content, so as per their mood, as per their taste of the program, or as per their interest, they automatically podcasts get automatically downloaded in their wish list or the playlist. Next advantage is it can restrict podcast to students enrolled in the course. Next, power of the audio over text. Student can listen, learn while walking, and they can learn while waiting, riding, etc. So it's a power of audio. It's oral sensation. Only one of your senses getting involved. You are listening, but meanwhile you can do anything. You can use it as a background also. So you can watch something in the ground. If you're doing some work, if you're walking, if you're moving, if you're driving, then you can access the podcast nowadays. It's a very in trend that before sleeping at night, people listen the podcast, some motivational, inspirational, or some meditation, or just to mind relax. They listen the podcast, they get inspiration from the various person's life achievements. So this is again a big thing. So next advantage is you don't need to invest in a piece of hardware. You don't have to, again, if you have a cell phone, if you have a mic, or like if you have a headphone also that with inbuilt mic, then also it's your problem will get solved. You can get that. Now again, the last one, that advantage is that not the last one, there are a lot of advantages of podcast. You can't say it's the last one. So next is your own podcast studio and a very little investment. Your own podcast studio and a very little investment. You can create anywhere. If you're creating a small podcast studio, then you can spend very little bit amount of money to get a good quality, like pro level book quality at your place. So next, we'll look at some disadvantages of podcasting. The entire file is downloaded to students' computer device. It's one of the disadvantage. Need sufficient bandwidth to download the podcast in a time fashion. But if you see nowadays, everyone is having like nobody talks below 4 GB. Everyone 4G. Everyone is having a cell phone of 4G technology, and we have a internet of more than 2 Mbps speed. Wi-Fi is everywhere. So but still there are few people who use 2G mobiles, 3G mobile, and having Wi-Fi and broadband connection in kbps. So many times it happens they face a problem to downloading a podcast, and it takes time. So if you're not in a network area, you're trying to download, and again it will be a problem. You need a sufficient bandwidth to download the podcast in a time in very less time. Next, limited usefulness for hearing impaired people. It's a limited usefulness for hearing. If a person is dumb, he definitely can't listen to the things, like you can't listen. Then for the hearing impaired people, it's useless because they can only see the content. For example, if you say it's a TV, then they can see the TV and they can imagine the words as per their own like you can experience, or whatever they have seen related to that content in their past. But if we talk about the radio, radio is only a visual. There's no visual. There's audio content. They listen. They won't be able to listen because they are impaired. So it's one of the disadvantage of the podcasting. Next, no interactivity. Like audience cannot participate. It's not like a radio or the community radio or like internet radio where you can have a chat box where you can communicate. Where you can make a two-way communication, or you can talk to RJ. You can make a phone call. You can play a game. Like you can make directly approach to the RJ or the anchor or the speaker or the expert panel. So there's no interactivity in the podcast. This is one of the disadvantage of the podcast. Audience cannot participate at all. Let's discuss about the software. Initially, I have discussed about the software. I've taken the word Audacity. A few slides back, I was talking about the audio editing. So this audio editing software is Audacity. Audacity is a piece of sound editing software that is used by many, if not most, podcasters. Audacity is a free, easy to use software-based radio recorder and editor. It is cross-platform, so it does not matter where you are using Windows, whether you are using Windows, whether you are using Mac OS or Linux or any operating system. So it's a cross-platform, so you can access with any OS. With Audacity, you will be able to record live audio using your computer sound input and then do some simple editing to recording and then export it to as an MP3 file so that it can be placed on the web server. So it's a very good software you can use for post-production work in audio editing and various. You can also add the sound effects. You can also add the background score. You can use the various layers. You can change the tempo. You can change the amplitude of the sound wave. You can play with the sound wave. You can mute the particular sound. You can add the reverb and a lot of various things you can experiment. You can play with this software. It's a very good software. I would suggest you to use this software if you're trying for the podcast. Although nowadays there are a lot of apps are available in the Play Store. You can download those apps also just to record and edit your voice. But still, this Audacity has a n number of features and it's a professional level of software, I can say. The future, if we discuss about the future of the podcasting, the future of the podcasting is very right now. Podcasting is primarily an amateur medium, but several companies are trying to run it into profitable business. If you see Spotify, if you see Anchor, there are a lot of companies. They are trying to run it into a profitable business. They are trying to get the advertisements to generate the revenue. So the future of this podcasting as per the 2020, it's a very good. I would say it's primarily it's an amateur medium, but right now I would say it will definitely boom more. Podcasting aggregators such as podcastalley.com and podcast.net are including advertisements on their sites. Some advertisements, some television networks are even starting to get into action. National Public Radio, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and the BBC have begun podcasting some of their shows. Uh, Corporations such as Heineken and General Motors have created their own podcast to attract customer. Somewhere they will increase their sales, they will boost the sale. So thank you for watching this presentation. So students, I hope you must have got a lot of new insights about like what is podcasting. It was a word that you always listen, podcasting. So you must have got a lot of like general idea about the podcasting. You have got idea about the advantages of podcasting, disadvantages of podcasting, how to use podcasts, what are the softwares. You don't need any hardware, you don't need any software. Like your cell phone is everything. You can create. You need a desktop. So how your audience are accessing those your content, you can create. You don't need to be a professional to become a professional podcaster. So you can create content anywhere from and it's of can be of any length, and you don't have to invest any amount. So I hope you must have liked this video, and I tried to cover a lot many things about the podcasting and what you think this exactly is. I'll make one more video next to this video, that in that I'll teach you about the how you can prepare, how you can plan podcasting host. And also I'll tell you about there are a lot of myths in the youth's mind regarding the when they start when they think to start a new podcast. So they have a lot of confusion in their mind what to do. They think like they are not a very good, they don't have a good voice, they are not good editor. So there are a lot of myths, so I'll discuss about the myths, and I also tell you about how you can select the best host to for your podcasting. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. I hope you must have liked this video. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe this video, and in next video I'll give you more, I'll try to bring more content for you. And so thank you. This was me, Ravinshu Sharma. Thank you so much.